Hi, my name is David Welch. I'm here at Brothers Tech Center every single week to get your truck back on the road. Today, we're going to go ahead and cover cab mounts for your square body, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to be installing urethane bushings. Now, the reason I like urethane bushings over rubber is that sometimes in the past when I'm putting cabs on and I'm trying to get everything lined up, the rubber will squish down unevenly depending on how I tighten it in my corners. The urethane is a bit stronger and tougher. It's going to last longer and it's going to give me a more defined point to stop at when I'm lining everything up. Now, you'll notice that we've got 6 right here and a cab mount only has 4. That's because 2 of these are for your radiator core support, and we're just going to be doing our cab mounts for you today. We're going to reuse some of our old hardware, and so I'll show you how to take that all apart and clean it up and reuse all that stuff. Yours might look a little bit different than these right here. The 73 to I think 81 is one style, 81 to 87 is a slightly different style, but this is basically going to be about the same program almost regardless of whatever your truck you have. So let's go ahead and get started and see how easy the old ones come out or not. Okay, so first thing, of course, we are going to get safe. We're going to be on flat ground. We're going to get chucks in the front and back of a tire. We're going to have an emergency brake on, and we're going to be in park. After we're all safe, I'm going to go ahead and start on my front. Now, you're going to want to take oil, and you're going to want to shoot it up on these guys a couple of days before you're going to get into it, because, like I said, these rust up pretty bad. Now, the nut that's up in here, it's what's known as a caged nut, and it's hidden up in all of these braces, but there's a little of an access point right here that we can get into, and we can spray oil up in there and let it penetrate as long as possible, and hopefully that nut's going to come off of there. Now, see, what's going on is that your nut in the top right here, it has a little cage and it just keeps it from moving around. But everything gets so rusty that when you're trying to take the bolt out, the nut turns at the same time and it won't come out. That's actually the case that we've got on this one. Now, if yours comes out, no big deal. You can go ahead and spin ahead a minute or two and see what we pick up. But if you got a worst case scenario like this, stick around and I'll show you how to fix it. Now, if you look on top on your floor, there's no easy evidence of where this cage nut is. So we're going to have to find it by measuring. So I'm going to go against the edge right here, and I'm going to measure to the center of my bolt. And that is looking at about just a bit under 12, got to look about 11 3/4. And then I'm going from the toe board, right at the 3/4 inch section right there. And I'm going to measure here, and I'm getting about 2.5 inches there. So now I'll go ahead and go up on top, and I'll transfer those measurements out, and I'll cut my hole. I transferred my measurements to the top, and then I went ahead and cut out just one line. Then I climb underneath and I double check and make sure that my cut doesn't look like it's too deep or too long or too wide, that it's in the right spot. Then I'll cut another line. I'll double check on the bottom because it is really easy to get over an inch or so. So just go ahead and cut a little bit and double check stuff, cut a little bit, double check stuff, so on and so forth. Once I've got it to this point right here, you'll notice that there's actually 2 pieces of metal that you have to cut through, and then I'm just going to go ahead and bend these up a little bit. Then I'll be able to bend it back down and weld it back up, and it'll be nice and neat. So here you can see the cage nut, and what you can see on the sides of that is I simply took some washers and placed them on the side to take up the gap and not allow the cage nut to spin any more than it already is. Now we're going to climb up underneath them and see if it works. All right, looks like we got a little bit lucky. Now, if this wasn't going to come out this way, you'd have to get a little bit more drastic and do a little more cutting. But if you were going to be doing some cutting, what you would want to do is you want to save this washer right here. So if you were going to cut, you would not want to cut up in here and ruin the washer. you'd have to get a Sawzall and you'd have to get it from here. You'd have to cut through the bushing and the nut at the same time and then just simply replace this guy. So I just got a jack underneath here. I just got a 2x4. Normally I like a 4x4. It's a little bit safer. When I'm going to jack it up, I'm going to jack it up on this flat brace right here. I don't want to jack it up on this one because it's got a bit of an angle on there. Won't be as secure. And when I'm doing these, I'm only doing one at a time. I don't want to take all 4 of them out and then jack up things because it makes it more difficult to line up the cab when it gets all flopping around. So you can see that just comes out nice and easy like that. And now we can go ahead and clean this up some, and then we'll go ahead and get her back together. We've got everything out. Let's take a look at what we've got. Now this is the piece that was on top, and here's your piece that was on bottom. I want to reuse these rubber washers, or metal washers I mean. And so sometimes these are going to just get really corroded in there, really come off hard. This one we're lucky, but see how that looks? So this is the guy that goes on top, and the guy here on the bottom. Okay, that's coming off. So we're going to save these guys, and what's going to happen is we're going to take this guy and this one, and that's just going to go like this. That's our new top. That's going to go like that. That's our new bottom. And so this will just simply sit on the frame. That'll cup on the bottom. We'll bolt it back up again and be all done. Give me a few minutes to clean these up though, because we don't want this rust to just keep on going, and then we'll stick all this back together again. All right, just going to put this together, and we're going to slide it right up on top. This right here goes right up on bottom. I'm going to lower it down first, of course. Okay. Now I'm not going to tighten this down all the way yet because I'm going to do my rear first, so let's get on that. All right, this one's stuck too, so we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be taking measurements. I'm going to go from the corner right here where the door will shut at, and then I'm getting 27 inches that way. Now you might measure yours differently, but it's going to be basically the same thing. This right here is about 2 inches. I'll transfer that to the top, cut my hole out nice and slow and nice and easy like. Make sure we don't cut too big, and then we'll see what that looks like. All right, so this is working, and we got lucky, so to speak. So this is going to come off just like the front one. Now I'm going to go ahead and jack this up. We're going to look for a nice support right here. Okay. All right, that's just enough. No, one more. Okay. All right, so I got these guys all out. I'm going to clean these up just like I did the front, and we'll go back together again. We're all cleaned up and ready to go, just like the front. Going to go back together like this. Slide it on in. Well, looks like we need a little bit more. Drop it on down, let this down nice and gentle like. There we go. Your bottom. And your bolt. I got this snugged up, but I'm not going to tighten it up all the rest of the way. I've got to do the other side. I'm not going to bore you with that because you already know how to do it now. I'm going to reiterate though that just do one corner at a time. If my front sheet metal was on this, then I won't upset my cab movement or anything like that, and more than likely it's going to stay right where it is. If your front sheet metal's off, you're going to want to get a tape measure out, and you're going to want to measure your cab probably up to the radiator core support pockets. Make sure you do diagonal measurements. And then after you get everything done, then you can go ahead and tighten it down for the last time. My name is David Welch. I am at Brothers Tech Center every single week to get your truck back on the road. You make sure you check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel because I want you to. Almost forgot. If you've got the worst case scenario like ours and you had to cut into the floor, we're going to need to button that back up before we're done. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just go ahead and weld in my cage nut so I don't have to worry about it in the future. Then I'll go ahead and I will weld down the hole I cut in the floor and we'll be all nice and neat and ready to rock.